What it do, fam? Do you want to hear about how going on shopping sprees helped me to save money? That is what I'm going to talk about on Storytime today. Let's get into it. So if you didn't already know, welcome back. I am Coach Ladybug Jenkins, your lovability coach, teaching you how to know more love, show more love, grow more love. It's lovability, baby. So let's get into it. So we are going to have to wind it back, about 40 years to when Ladybug was just a little baby bug. I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I was living in rural Georgia. And as a Florida girl, a Fort Lauderdale girl, this was a huge culture shock. So like a lot of children, I was a latchkey kid back then, and my parents had to work. And so sometimes my mom was a nurse. When she was on duty, I would go and stay and hang out with relatives. So there were girls about my age in the household, and they had money. I'm not gonna lie, they had money, especially in comparison to us. We were living in a small house, the whole nine, and they had this very luxurious house. It was the first place I ever saw a personal computer, a pink stereo, a walk-in closet, a canopy bed, and you're talking about Black folks back in the early to mid 80s. So it was a very big deal, and I was very impressed, which, made sense. But something I would notice is that when I would come to visit, it would just be like on a Saturday when there was no school and my parents, needed somewhere for me to be. So I would go and I would hang out, and I remember, let's just get in the car. Let's go shopping. And so we would pile into the car. And I remember this one particular day. Now, this incident is representative of the norm. So I'm just sharing this one incident to kind of give you a feeling for what things were like for me. So we get to the store, and there's, the department store, and there's all these clothes and shoes. And this is the 80s, so fashion was, and there were these shoes. And the child, not the adult, says to me, "Ooh, why don't you try these on?" And I get them down, and they're adorable, and I try them on, and they're so cute. And meanwhile, they're piling up things to buy, right? And this is family. And they fit, and they were beautiful. And I'm prancing around in them, in the shoe store, if you remember what that was like. And then the child, my age, she says to me, maybe you should ask your mom and dad to bring you here and buy them for you. And then there's this little giggle. And then I realize that despite the mounds of things being piled up on the counter for them, that this one pair of shoes were not going to go home with me. But the thing that got me was that the adults heard it. And while they didn't laugh out loud, there was this little smirk. And I was like, oh, so this is okay. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this is okay. It's okay. This is my position in this situation. This is my position. Even though this is family, this is my position. And so I took the shoes off, and I put them back on the shelf, and I went on with my day. And I did tell my mother, because she would understand with it being shopping and shoes and all of that. But I don't think I told her then, because I knew that as time went on and working on Saturdays would still be a thing, that I would still have to go back. And if I would have told my mother, she would have picked up the phone or driven over there, and, something would have been said about it. But I understood as a child who was also bullied at school that tattling to your mom could just make everything worse. And I understood that. And so I eventually told her, but I didn't tell her then. And that was one of many incidents. And even at my young age, I started to ask myself, why is it that it's always time to go shopping when I'm here? Why do you have to do these kinds of things when I'm here, knowing that you're never going to include me? But I learned a very valuable lesson. as time went on and I watched other people, other children my age, get so much. Me just wanting a couple of new outfits for school when they would have a closet full, and me wanting one pair of high top Reeboks. Again, we're talking about the 80s, and then having one pair in every color. Guess jeans and Club Beverly Hills and Ocean Pacific, Gloria Vanderbilt, Vidal Sassoon. If you know, you know. If you were there, you were there. But it created a resolve in me. I was like, you know what? I might be a child now. And I might be at the mercy of an adult to buy me something or not buy me something now. But that is not going to be my story for my entire life. Now, my mom was not a slouch regarding my appearance. She would take me to get my hair done. I did have new clothes for school. I had new clothes for school. I didn't have enough new clothes to last me the entire month, the first month of school, right? And my mom would make miracles out of things where clothes were concerned, but that is another story for another day. So, as I grew up, I made good grades, and I went to nursing school right out of high school, and by the time I was 21, I earned more than both of my parents because I would work. I would seek out jobs that paid me more than the average. I remember the first job I was offered out of nursing school at this great hospital in the community in Broward County, and I think the pay was around $9 an hour, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I didn't go to school, and this was 1994. Sorry, I graduated in 1994, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to work for $9 an hour. And everyone was saying, oh, you need the experience, you have to do that. Nope. I went and sought out a job, and my first job out of nursing school with no experience in 1994 was $20 an hour. And then I went and got a second job that also paid me $20 an hour. So your girl was racking it up. And by the time I was 21, I went and got that little red Tercel. I was able to get myself an apartment, all the things. Yes. And so I was able to walk into stores and buy whatever I wanted and do all of these things. But I also had the pride and confidence that came from earning it myself, not from my mom and dad who had done, what they did for me. And I'm forever grateful. But it taught me about the real value of not just things and money and working hard. It taught me about the value of people. It taught me how to treat people, how to not treat people, especially children. And I'm thankful that the Lord designed me in such a way that even when really horrific things would happen to me, I was always able to step outside of the situation and kind of look inside, like through a window or as an observer. I hope that makes sense. And say to myself, even at the age of 12 or 13, I was able to say, yeah, this is not right. This is not how you treat people. I'm not going to treat people like this, especially not a child. So it was valuable to me. And it put something in me that made me want to work hard, that made me want to get an education, that allows me to hold down 2 jobs if I need to. And I've done it. I remember in 2007, I was still in LPN, which is a 1-year vocational program, earning like $80-something thousand a year so that I could pay off all of my debt and buy myself a home. But I don't want to get off into a different story. But that is what the story, that is how the shopping sprees impacted me. That is what they taught me. So in every situation that you're in, you could always learn something. And love is always somewhere in the story, because it also taught me about forgiveness. I had to remember that they were children too. Children do what they're taught to do. Children do what they're allowed to do. Children repeat things that they hear at home. Children pick up on the spiritual attitude of the adults that are in charge in their life. No 12-year-old, well, they might just wakes up and says, I'm going to shade, I'm going to do this, I'm going to act like this, I'm going to get to the store and do that. Is that something they heard in a conversation? Is that something they saw their parent do to someone else? I don't know. But love is about forgiveness. And when I tell you I love them to pieces right now, I love them to life, and I can't wait to see them again and hang out with them. Because love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. It doesn't sit back and recount what you did to them 20, 30 years ago, a year ago. Now, forgiving someone doesn't always mean they have access to you, but you do not keep a record of the things they did to you, because that is not what love is. And when I forgive and I let that stuff go, life is good for me. And that is one of the ways I know more love, show more love, and grow more love, because it's lovability, baby. And I love that. And I love you too. And you are loved, wanted, and needed, or you would not be here. Amen. Amen. See you next time.